All right, are you ready to unlock some secrets?
I hope so.
Because we're diving deep into the IELTS speaking test today.
Yeah.
And we've got some insider knowledge to boost your confidence like no other.
We've been pouring over tons of tips and tricks.
From the one and only IELTS Liz.
And trust me, it's good stuff. You're going to walk away from this deep dive feeling like you can ace that test.
Okay, so full disclosure, the IELTS speaking test can feel a little intimidating to some.
Oh, absolutely.
But here's the thing. It's not supposed to be a terrifying interrogation.
Yeah, it's not about grilling you. It's designed to be more like a friendly chat.
Really?
Yeah. You get to show off your English skills in a relaxed and natural way, like you're chatting with a friend.
That's a nice way to think about it. So it's not like you have to sound like a robot or use super formal language?
No, not at all. The examiners actually want to hear you speak naturally, using the kind of language you would use in everyday conversations.
So tell me more about this chat. What exactly is involved in the IELTS speaking test?
Basically, you'll have a one-on-one interview with a certified examiner. And it's the same format whether you're taking the academic or general training IELTS.
So no need to worry about two separate tests depending on which IELTS you're taking.
Exactly. They've designed it to see how well you can communicate in English across different situations.
Makes sense. So no matter which test you're taking, it's all about showing off your awesome English skills.
Oh, yeah, actually.
Okay, but how long is this chat going to be? Asking for a friend who tends to get a little chatty.
Well, the entire test takes about 11 to 14 minutes.
Okay, that's not too bad.
No, not bad at all. And the examiner guides you through the whole thing, kind of like a conductor keeping the orchestra in sync.
I like that analogy. So our friendly examiner is like the conductor making sure we stay on track.
Yeah. They keep things moving along smoothly and make sure the test stays within the time limit.
So we've got our conductor, our casual chat vibe, and 11 to 14 minutes to work our magic. Sounds manageable so far, but I have to ask, what are the sections of the test?
Think of it like a play with 3 acts.
Ooh, dramatic. I love it.
Each act highlights your English skills in different ways.
All right, lay it on me. What's Act 1?
Act 1, or Part 1, is all about introductions and getting to know you. It's like the warm-up act.
No pressure then, just a casual meet and greet. What kind of topics do they ask about in this warm-up?
Think everyday stuff. Things like your home, work, hobbies, or maybe your favorite places to travel. You know, relatable topics to get the conversation flowing.
So nothing too out there or unexpected, just those good old getting to know you topics.
Exactly. It's designed to ease you into the test and help you feel comfortable speaking.
Okay, keep it light and breezy in Act 1. I like it. How long does this warm-up last?
It's about 4 to 5 minutes long. You'll answer around 12 questions, usually related to about 3 different topics.
12 questions, 5 minutes, familiar topics. Seems like a good way to dip our toes into the IELTS pool. What about Act 2? Does the pressure ramp up a bit?
Act 2 is where you get your time to shine. It's called the individual long turn. And yes, it's a bit more challenging.
Long turn? Now you're making me nervous. What exactly do we have to do in this act?
All right, imagine this. You're given a topic card with some bullet points on it. You have 1 minute to prepare your thoughts. And then you give a 1 to 2 minute talk based on that topic. Think of it like telling a captivating story, really engaging the examiner with your words.
Okay, so a minute to prep and then 2 minutes to take center stage. That is a bit more challenging. I'm starting to see why they call it the long turn. Is there a magic number of minutes we should aim for in that talk?
Definitely shoot for the full 2 minutes if you can. It gives you a chance to really showcase your fluency and how well you can develop your ideas. You know, like hitting that high note in a song and holding it for the full effect.
2 minutes, got it. So we've wowed them with our captivating story. What happens next?
After your talk, the examiner might ask you a couple of follow-up questions, just to wrap up the topic and dig a little deeper. You can think of it as them saying, "Bravo, tell me more."
Okay, Act 2, the spotlight is on. I need to start practicing my captivating stories. But we still have one more act to go, right? What's in store for us in Act 3?
Act 3, or Part 3, is where the real discussion begins. It's called the two-way discussion, and it's where we'll be exploring some broader and more complex themes.
Ooh, so it's like taking the topic from Act 2 and going a little deeper, getting a bit more philosophical.
Exactly. Act 3 is your chance to flex your intellectual muscles a bit. You'll be expressing your opinions more clearly and engaging in a more challenging conversation with the examiner.
Okay, I'm starting to feel like I need to brush up on my debate skills. How long does this deep dive last?
Part 3 usually runs about 4 to 5 minutes. You can expect around 5 or 6 questions, but it can vary a little. But remember, it's a conversation, not an interrogation.
All right, so we've got our three acts: the casual chat, the solo spotlight, and the deep dive discussion. I'm starting to get the picture. But let's be real for a second. What are some of the things people typically struggle with on this test? I mean, besides potential stage fright in Act 2.
You're not alone if you're feeling a little anxious. IELTS, Liz talks about a few common challenges that I think a lot of people can relate to.
Okay, hit me with them. I'm all ears.
Well, one of the biggest ones is just feeling prepared to talk about, well, anything. You never know what topics are going to throw your way.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Another is expanding on your answers. It's easy to just give short and simple responses, but the examiners want to see you really develop your ideas and express yourself fully.
Okay, so preparation and elaboration are key. Got it.
Hmm.
Anything else?
And of course, we all want to sound natural and fluent like we're actually having a conversation. But that can be tricky when you're in a test environment, you know? And another challenge is expressing opinions confidently. Remember, they want to hear what you think.
Right. It's so easy to freeze up or overthink things when you know you're being assessed, so like your mind goes blank. Anything else we should be prepared for?
One more thing. Having the right mindset going into the test, if you're stressed and overwhelmed, it's going to affect how you perform. So true. A positive attitude can make a world of difference. But that's why we're doing this deep dive, right? To arm ourselves with the knowledge and confidence to face those test day jitters head on.
Exactly. The more you understand about the test format, the marking criteria, and the kinds of questions you might get, the more prepared and confident you'll be.
Okay, so we've laid the groundwork. We've got a sense of the overall structure and vibe of the test, and we've talked about some common challenges, but now I'm ready to get tactical. Let's unpack IELTS Liz's advice on how to tackle these challenges and really shine on test day.
Let's do it. We'll start by diving deeper into each of those common challenges and see what IELTS Liz recommends for overcoming them.
Challenge accepted. Let's conquer these IELTS hurdles one by one. All right, so we've explored those three acts of the IELTS speaking test: the warm-up, the spotlight, and the deep dive. And we talked about some of the common challenges test takers face. But now I want to get into the nitty-gritty. I want to know, how can we actually tackle those challenges and really impress those examiners? I hear you. Let's unpack IELTS Liz's advice, starting with that first big challenge: feeling prepared to talk about pretty much anything.
Right. I mean, how do you even begin to prepare for that?
Well, IELTS Liz has this awesome brainstorming technique. She recommends creating a list of potential topics.
A list.
Yeah, based on the common themes that often come up in the test. Think about your hobbies, your hometown, your work, current events, anything that could potentially spark a conversation.
So it's like creating a mental map of all those possible conversational territory.
Exactly, you're getting it. And once you've got your list, start gathering some vocabulary related to each theme.
So it's like packing our suitcase for a trip, making sure we've got everything we need for any conversational destination.
I love that analogy. You're totally right. It's all about being prepared for anything.
This is making me feel more adventurous already. Okay, so we've got our mental map, our vocabulary suitcase packed. What about that second challenge? Expanding on our answers. How do we avoid giving those short, one-sentence responses that leave the examiner wanting more?
IELTS Liz has a technique for this too. She calls it the what question technique.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this technique.
It's super simple, really. After you give your initial answer to a question, just ask yourself a what question about it. Why, how, what, when, who, anything to help you dig a little deeper and provide more details.
Oh, I see. So instead of just saying, I enjoy reading, I could say something like, I enjoy reading because it allows me to escape to different worlds and explore new perspectives.
Exactly. You've taken a simple answer and turned it into a more engaging response. You're showing the examiner that you can think critically and express yourself more fully.
And it's giving them more insight into who I am. Okay, so challenge number 2, we're tackling you head on. What about that challenge of sounding natural and fluent, even though we're in a test environment? Any tips for finding that sweet spot between being grammatically correct and still sounding like a real human?
This one's all about practice. IELTS Liz recommends recording yourself speaking English. You could practice answering sample questions or just have a conversation with an English-speaking friend.
And then what? Listen back to it.
Exactly. When you listen back, you'll notice things like where you sound too formal or maybe a bit too scripted. It helps you identify those areas where you can loosen up and sound more natural.
That's actually a really good tip. It's like having your own personal speech coach in your pocket. Okay, what about expressing opinions confidently? That feels like a big one. It's easy to feel intimidated in a test setting,
It's totally understandable to feel that way. But here's what IELTS Liz reminds us. There are no right or wrong answers when it comes to expressing your opinions. The examiners simply want to hear you articulate your thoughts clearly.
So it's more about showing that we can think critically and express ourselves, less about having the perfect opinion.
Exactly. Think of it like a friendly debate where you get to share your perspective on the world.
I like that. A friendly debate. But what about those moments when we just feel stuck? When our mind goes blank and we can't seem to string a sentence together.
Don't panic. It happens to the best of us.
Seriously.
Yes. Everyone gets those brain freezes sometimes. The key is to not let it throw you off. IELTS Liz suggests taking a moment to gather your thoughts.
Oh, so we don't have to pretend like we have all the answers instantly.
Nope. You can use phrases like, let me think about that for a second, or that's an interesting question, let me consider it, just to buy yourself a little time.
That's a relief. I always thought those pauses would count against us, but really they show that we're thinking things through.
Exactly. What if you totally blank on a word or a phrase? Can we ask the examiner for clarification?
Oh, that's a good question. I've definitely had those moments where I'm like, wait, what does that word even mean?
Don't be shy about asking. IELTS Liz says it's perfectly okay to ask for clarification if you need it. Just be polite and say something like, could you please explain what you mean by? It's much better to clarify than to just stumble through a response that might be totally off base.
Oh, that's so good to know. It makes me feel a lot less anxious about those potential brain fart moments.
Oh,
Okay, I feel like we've covered a lot of the major test-taking anxieties here, but there's still that big one, mindset. How do we go into that test feeling confident and ready to rock it?
IELTS Liz emphasizes the importance of preparation.
Of course, preparation. We knew that was coming.
But it's not just about knowing the material. It's also about viewing the test as an opportunity, not as a judgment. Remember, you've put in the work. You've come this far. You deserve to celebrate your progress.
So true. It's all about reframing our perspective. It's not a make or break moment. It's a chance to show off what we've learned. But even with all the preparation and positive self-talk in the world, how do we know we're actually doing what we need to do to get the score we want? I mean, what are the examiners looking for?
That's where those 4 marking criteria come in. Fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. They all play a role in your final score. And guess what? IELTS Liz has some fantastic insights on how to master each one.
Okay, you've got me hooked. Let's break down those marking criteria and dive into IELTS Liz's secret scoring strategies.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk scoring. We've covered a lot in this deep dive, but now it's time to unpack those mysterious marking criteria. The things that can really make or break our IELTS score.
Oh, for sure. Those criteria are super important. And remember, those examiners are on your side.
They are.
Yeah, they really want to see you succeed. So to recap, we've got 4 main criteria. Fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. Each one plays an equal role in your overall score. So let's take them one by one, shall we?
Sounds like a plan. Let's start with fluency and coherence. What exactly do those terms mean in the context of the IELTS speaking test?
Well, fluency is all about how smoothly your speech flows, speaking naturally without too much hesitation or repetition. And coherence refers to how well you organize your ideas. It's about connecting those ideas logically, using linking words and phrases to guide the listener along.
So it's not just about speaking quickly.
No, not at all.
It's about making sure our ideas flow smoothly and make sense.
Got it. Any tips for boosting our fluency and coherence game?
Practice. That's the big one, honestly.
Figures.
The more you practice speaking, the more comfortable and fluent you'll become. IELTS Liz recommends recording yourself or having conversations with English-speaking friends. Just get out there and speak and pay attention to those linking words, like because, therefore, however, all those good ones that help to transition between thoughts.
Ooh, those little transitions can make a big difference, like adding punctuation to our speech. Okay, so practice and linking words. Check. What about lexical resource? That one sounds a bit scary. It's not as intimidating as it sounds. Lexical resource just means vocabulary. Basically, the examiners want to see you using a wide range of vocabulary accurately and appropriately.
So it's not about memorizing a bunch of big words and just throwing them in randomly?
Nope. It's all about choosing the right words for the right context. Imagine you're describing your favorite hobby. Instead of just saying, I like to travel, You could say, I'm passionate about exploring new cultures and immersing myself in different ways of life.
Wow, that sounds so much more interesting. It's like painting a picture with words.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Using language that's both accurate and engaging.
Okay, challenge accepted.
Now, what about grammatical range and accuracy? I think I have a feeling what this one's all about.
You got it. This criterion is all about your mastery of English grammar. The examiners want to see that you can use a variety of sentence structures accurately and effectively.
So it's not just about avoiding those basic grammatical mistakes. It's about showing that we can handle those more complex grammatical constructions.
Exactly.
Any advice for leveling up our grammar game? Well, IELTS Liz suggests brushing up on the fundamentals of English grammar. Make sure you're comfortable with the different tenses, sentence structures, and all those key grammatical concepts. And don't be afraid to experiment with more complex structures in your practice.
Grammar boot camp, here I come. Okay, let's talk about the one that might be causing some anxiety. Pronunciation.
Uh,
I mean, for those of us who don't have a native-like accent, this one can feel a bit daunting. What are the examiners actually listening for when it comes to pronunciation?
Good news. They're not expecting you to sound exactly like a native speaker. What they really care about is clarity and intelligibility. Can they understand what you're saying? That's the key.
So it's not about erasing our accents completely.
Nope. Embrace your unique voice and focus on speaking clearly and confidently.
That makes me feel so much better. Okay, so we've broken down those four main marking criteria: fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range and accuracy, and pronunciation. But I'm still curious about those specific tips and techniques that IELTS Liz mentions on her website. Can we dive into some of those?
Oh, definitely. One of my favorites is her advice on how to handle those inevitable mistakes. We all make them.
Oh, absolutely.
She says that if you make a mistake, it's totally fine to quickly correct yourself and then just move on.
Really?
Yeah. It shows the examiner that you're aware of the error and that you're aiming for accuracy.
That's a huge relief.
Yeah,
So no need to panic if I slip up. A quick correction is all it takes.
exactly. Don't dwell on it, own it, and keep going. Another great tip is about dealing with interruptions. Sometimes the examiner might need to interrupt you just to keep the test flowing smoothly.
Oh, that's good to know. I think I'd probably freeze if I got interrupted mid-sentence. That's
Yeah.
the best way to handle that.
IELTS Liz says not to sweat it. It's totally normal and it doesn't reflect negatively on you. Just take a breath, listen to the examiner's question, and then pick up where you left off.
Okay, that's actually very reassuring. Any other nuggets of wisdom from IELTS Liz that we should keep in mind?
One more thing, and this is a big one for a lot of test takers. Don't get too hung up on those filler words, like, and like,
Oh, those are my worst enemy. But I feel like I use them constantly in everyday speech.
we all do. IELTS Liz says that while it's good to try to minimize their use, don't let a fear of fillers make you sound robotic. Remember, the goal is to sound natural, like you're having a real conversation.
That's such a good reminder. It's all about finding that balance between polished speech and authentic communication.
You got it.
I feel like we've uncovered so many great insights in this deep dive. Seriously, I'm walking away feeling so much more confident and prepared to tackle the IELTS speaking test.
That's what we like to hear. And remember, you've totally got this. Just stay focused on your preparation, practice as much as you can, and keep that positive attitude.
So true. We've explored the test format, we've uncovered those scoring secrets, and we've armed ourselves with IELTS Liz's expert advice. Now it's time to put all this knowledge into action and rock that speaking test. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We're cheering you on every step of the way.